Good afternoon and welcome. Today we have Tom Milner, who is the founder of two companies, Pristine Screen and Service and Support. Tom, welcome. Thanks for coming to the show. Now, we've seen you at ISE for many, many years. We've seen you at Infocom, I think, DSE, lots of other places. What is it that brings you back to ISE year after year?
I find coming to shows like this, I meet all of my customers in one place. I have the opportunity to see new things, interesting things, spectacular things in some cases. But it's very, very interesting to come to a show where you're meeting your peers, meeting some people for the first time as well, driving new business, and if it wasn't for shows like this, a lot of the time you wouldn't get new business.
Okay, that's good to know. What have you seen at ISE in the last couple of days that's really caught your eye?
There's some quite interesting things here. Interesting things like this LED. There is a very, very large amount of LED here that in the other halls, it's almost an overload. So you come to places like this and you actually find that it's much easier to look at. It's a darker environment, you can see it and appreciate it more. It's very interesting with all the Chinese manufacturers, just how much they're really trying to develop a marketplace now. And to me, there's actually too much. I prefer the much more sedate approach where you can see some that's good to look at, but not too much. There's obviously some very nice new products with OLED and stuff like that as well. Some very interesting products on all the stands. But
the products like, we'll come back to LED in a second, but the products like OLED, do they actually have legs? People have been pushing them for years now. We've seen them at CES 3 or 4 years ago.
I think it's still very much in its infancy. But some of the products that are here, the size, the fact that they're double-sided, some are ceiling mounted as well. They're very, very interesting products.
You think they may take off eventually?
I think you could be still a couple of years away from it.
Okay. Well, we're always worried it might go the same way as 3D, or you can get these hype of product after product, year after year, and
I can't use 3D. It gives me a headache. It makes me feel ill. So I always saw it as a fad. It was never something that was, to me,
unfortunately, that's not what the show organisers and the TV manufacturers have you believe. So LED is interesting because we've seen announcements from a number of different screen manufacturers, good brand screen manufacturers, all jumping into the LED bandwagon, you like. The one we have here is a 1.5mm LED. First time we've managed to use LED on a broadcast set. It's good enough quality for that. You're right about the Chinese stuff, I think. There are different qualities, but many people have said that the video wall market may suffer a little bit because of the rise of LED.
I think you're right. I think you're going to see a sea change now from your traditional segmented LED video wall. That sort of stuff is going to disappear, and you're going to have beautiful products like this come on, and they're going to start to compete on price. They're going to start to compete on viability because these are much cheaper to run than not just from a power point of view, but also the cost of install. They're getting more and more difficult to get the right installation quality, whereas it's pretty much plug and play, and it just works.
Well, I know that you're here for the whole 4 days, so that means that you have a certain opinion about the fourth day, but when you come to a show like this, it's huge. I think 44,000 square foot, so many halls. What's the first place that you head to?
Well, this is my second day, and I've only done one hall completely so far, so it's still a big show. So for me, 4 days so far, I'm sitting on the fence, but I think it's probably worthwhile for the people who want to see everything. The things I head for myself are digital signage, because that's predominantly where I exist. But seeing any kind of screen manufacturer is interesting to me because I love to see the new products. I love to obviously promote the things that I provide to those screen manufacturers, whether that's service or support or anything else. But it's always interesting to see that there is, thankfully, something new each year.
Okay, and that's good to know. Now, Infocom, we saw you there last year. It was in Florida last year. Vegas, it will be this year. They're different, almost as much as chalk and cheese, really. But you go to both. What do you think is the big differences between the two events?
Obviously, the main thing about ISE is, for me, it's more convenient because it's a much easier trip out here. If you play it right, you can actually stay somewhere quite cheaply as well. Whereas Infocom, it's a bigger trip. It's a bit more of a remote marketplace for me, even though I deal with companies from the US and happily work with them. It's a lot different because it's a different culture. We're many cultures all driven together in Europe, and it works better from my point of view.
The one thing that we spotted, I mean, Mike Blackman, the guy who put this together, did a good job with the digital signage hall many years ago when he started it off. That's the one thing that we really think sets off the two events.
I actually think it's the main part of ISE now, myself. I think that the digital signage hall is where all the really interesting things are at. The fact that, my experience of Infocom was digital signage wasn't perhaps so much focused on, it was just much more general AV, which it's Infocom, so you can understand that. But I think Infocom's going to have to pull the socks up if they want to compete with this.
Yeah. There's rumours of some new events being put on before Infocom next year as well, or not this year, next time around. A couple of conferences beforehand which will help the digital signage stuff as well, I think. So
that would be interesting.
Don't think it's been announced yet, but it's expected to be announced sometime
that
this week.
That could make it a big difference.
Now, DSE you also go to. The DSE, for our listeners who don't know, should know of course, but it's the largest dedicated trade show for digital signage. Now you've been, 10 years or so. Long time.
7 years now I think it is, but I love DSE because I've actually picked up a lot of new customers from there. Customers that, they want support partners that cover the rest of the world. And thankfully in my business we can do that for them. So again, DSE is somewhere where you will meet like-minded people, you can pretty much see all your customers in one place. But again, there's new things that you see every year. It's a lot smaller than a show like this, but it's dedicated, so it works.
Okay. And when you leave here and your last 2 days at the show, is there one place that you're going to specifically go to and seek out anything new?
I will probably have to do another round of Hall 8, where the digital signage is predominantly. I think the more I can actually understand what are the new things in the software side, so your digital signage platforms and what have you, that's what I've missed so far. I haven't been able to cover all of that yet, so I need to.
Okay. And last year, the last question, you launched a new business last year. I was going to say a new product for a second, but it's a new business, Pristine Screen. Tell us just a little bit about Pristine Screen and what it does.
Well, in all my years in digital signage, the one thing I've realised is that no one actually cleans these screens, or if they do, they use the wrong product. So I've actually set up Pristine Screen to be able to provide a managed service for manufacturers, distributors, resellers to sell with the screens, and actually we go out however many times that they request to actually professionally clean the screen with the right products and make sure that those screens look as good as they did when they were first sold and installed.
And it's going quite well, I think you've...
Yeah, it's very interesting because the bubble is about to burst, and the inquiries that are coming in now are about half a dozen each day. So it's very, very good, thank you.
That's good to know. Tom, thanks very much for coming along.